this next story, man, we got to delve into it, man, because it's been getting hot. It's been getting heated all over the internet. Ryback is back in the news. Ryback made some comments. I was just reading a couple of days ago too, but I really didn't pay any mind to it because when I hear Ryback talking, sometimes I feel like, man, Ryback, I always thought he was a okay guy. I never had any problems with him, anything like that. When you leave a company, sometimes, especially after it's been your lifelong dream and things don't work out, you could be really bitter. You can say, man, I hate everybody. I want to break something. You know what I mean? So I really didn't think about it too much. But Ryback made a comment as far as wrestling being fake. The title, the championship is just a prop. Nobody ever wins it. Nobody ever loses it. And me personally, I take a little bit, offense to that because I know how much work I put in, but Mark Henry seemed to, really got heated about it and went in on Ryback really, really hard, almost to the point to where, man, he ready to fight. He's ready to throw hands. But I kind of understand where Mark Henry is coming from in one aspect, and in certain aspects, I got to question it a little bit. But as far as my take on this, wrestling being fake, that's just not a term real professional wrestlers use. Okay, we just don't use that term. We don't degrade the business that we've put so much time into. We just don't do that. People from the outside, that play wrestler, they may talk like that. But the guys that really put in time is never the word fake is not gonna come out of their mouth. Because every time I went to the ring, man, it was as real as it possibly could be, and then when a little kid asked me a question like that, when a little kid, say for instance, 10 years old, okay, and that's why I question someone like Ryback saying something like that. When a 10-year-old asks me the question, hey, Booker, is wrestling fake? I tell that 10-year-old kid, anything that put a roof over my son's head and food on my son's table and clothes on my son's back, it's as real as it possibly could be. And that kid eyes wake up and go, wow, because it puts it in a different term. You look at it from a different perspective. Anything that you do that you're taking care of your family, it's real. Anytime you go out there and that, you're doing something that you putting your life on the line, and one bump, it could be all over with. Look at Draws, a guy who's been in a wheelchair for many, many years, from going out there doing something that's fake. That's why saying something like that, that's something that he should apologize for, in my opinion. The title, I always said the title meant that you was the guy that was representing the company at that time. You were their champion. And when we go out and perform, we perform at the highest level. Wrestling is to be embellished. The spinneroonie, the people's elbow. It is to be embellished because it's professional wrestling.
Right.
When I hear someone say professional wrestling is fake, that's done it and made money from it, it pisses me off a little bit. And then, like I said, it ticked Mark Henry off. But when Ronda Rousey said it was fake, Mark Henry said it was the greatest thing in the world. It was the biggest ploy that someone could ever do. I think JBL even chimed in on it and said it was a great move. Why is it okay when Ronda Rousey said, but not Ryback?
Yeah.
So I say in that situation right there, you got to be consistent as far as that term being thrown around by anyone who have made money doing what we do. There again, people can say they love this business, but I love this business, and I'm never going to degrade it. The business. If you got an issue with a certain individual, you talk about that certain individual.
Right.
Don't try to throw the business under the bus just because you got a gripe with a certain individual or certain individuals. Point taken.
I think that you make a fantastic point, and I bet you Ryback wouldn't say that if he won the title. If they had put the title on him, man, I'm the world champion. What are you talking about? It's as real as it possibly can be. I like Ryback. I don't listen to, I don't keep up on his shows or anything like that. But when he was in the WWE, I enjoyed him as a character and a personality and a performer. But I think that anybody, like you said, who uses the F word, it's disrespectful to all those who came before and all those who have suffered injuries, bruised, battered, torn, and some lost their lives for this industry. So you got to put that in perspective.
Yeah, we got to take a break, guys. Like I said, we're going to take a couple of comments on that on the back end here in a second. Stick around, back in a minute. Remember, a guy told me, I'm not going to say his name or anything like that, but he had, lost his job at WWE. And I say, hey, man, what you going to do now, man? He goes, I guess I'm just going to be a regular person. And I go, wow. What am I? No, I'm serious. No, I'm dead serious because I look at myself like a regular person. I don't look at myself like, I tell people all the time, when you get in this business, you're going to get a lot of praise. People are going to, praise you and look up to you. And I say, but when you get to the point where you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror and wink, you got a problem. Okay. You need to dial it back a little bit. This business has been nothing for me other than a job. And I've always tried to figure out how to parlay it into what's next, because when it's going to be over with one day, sooner or later. That's just the way life is. So you got to be prepared. At least you're trying to prepare for what's next. And if you're just thinking about living life in the past, as far as, what didn't happen for you then, it's got to be so hard to move on to the future. That's just my opinion. That's just my take on that. But for me to think about, WWE when I didn't work there anymore, I don't know the issues of Ryback or anything like that as far as legal, what he's gone through, what has been, his story, in the company or anything. Like, everybody's story is different. One person say, man, I hate that guy, and the next person say, man, that guy's all right. You know what I mean? So everybody, looks at this thing from totally different perspectives. But there again, when you look at it as anything other than a job, that's when I think things could get a little bit gray, and that's when it become a problem.
Well, I think that also sometimes when you hear guys, and I'm not talking about Ryback specifically, I'm just talking about in general, when guys leave, a lot of the times when they do either their own podcast or they go out and they do interviews, there seems to be a real sense of entitlement that comes from some of them, right? I should have been given this, or I deserve this. I deserved, whatever it is, the main event of WrestleMania, or I deserve the world title, or I deserve this, that, and the other. And it comes across, it's, we as fans, we hear that and it's like, oh, that guy kind of sounds bitter. And to me, we had someone in the chat that I really like to highlight. Lindsay Whitney says you should never knock the hand that fed you or fed your family. And I'm big on that. I understand if you have issues with somebody or you had issues with the company or what have you, but when you leave there, you remember the best and you forget the rest, right? And you say, man, I'm so thankful that I had that 4 years. I had that 7 years. Man, I was under contract with the largest wrestling company in the world for a decade, and I got paid to travel the world and be on television on a weekly basis. That is a gift that there are so many, hundreds and hundreds of guys, Booker. We've seen them over the 8 years I've been in reality wrestling. Reality wrestling's been around for 15 years. Guys coming in and out, just trying to get a look, trying to get a shot, trying to make it. And you are one of those few. You're one of the selected, chosen ones. And, when I hear that, it sounds entitled and it sounds bitter and ungrateful. And I just don't like that negativity. I get if you have problems. I get it. And like you said, everyone has their own issues with whatever happened on their way out or whatever. But what does that do for you? Like, let me ask you this. What is Ryback saying wrestling is fake? What does that do? What does that do for the industry? What does that do for his show? Because guess what? The majority of people who are listening to Ryback, They're not sports car enthusiasts. They're not checking up on the latest tennis rankings. They're wrestling fans. So you're almost insulting your own audience, the people who have created everything that you have. And obviously Ryback has done it on his own. True, I'm not trying to take anything away from his own personal success, but the reason why you have the platform you have today is because wrestling fans they like you. They were a fan of Ryback. And I just don't know why you turn around and slap them in the face and be like, oh, all that stuff that you like is silly and stupid. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all.
Well, I mean, this is not the first time I've said something about this as far as, the wrestling business. It's kind of like Hollywood. Sometimes the best actors get the leading role, but then sometimes you might get a guy that get the leading role, like say, for instance, Jim Brown. You know what I mean? Because you go, well, how the hell he get the leading role? It's Jim Brown. That's why. No, I'm serious.
No, you're right. 100%.
No, I'm dead serious. So some people feel like, they should have got there. They should have did this, or they should have been champion, whatnot. I always felt like the wrestling business there again was like Hollywood. I got my script, and I went out and I played my role. I tried to play that role to the best of my ability. So the director look at me and say, man, maybe we need to give him a bigger role in the next movie, and then I started trying to work my way up through, the channels like that. But I always, relied on, my talent, and my talent alone was, go out and perform, and hopefully someone to see it and say, man, let's get this guy a better role, the television champion. Man, okay, man, I take the television championship. That's cool. They gave me a better role right there. And then they said, man, this kid is killing it, man. Let's give him a better role, man. The U.S. championship. Boom. That's the way I've always looked at the wrestling business. And I guess that's why I've never played politics. I've never gone to the office and said, hey, how about we do this or we do that? I've never once can anyone say Booker T has ever politic for an angle or something like that. Just because that wasn't my job. That was just taking up too much, space in my head, thinking about something that I totally didn't need to be thinking about. So you do your job. You write the script, you give it to me, and I'll try to enhance it and make it better than you ever could have, written this thing out for me. So that's the way I've always looked at it. And there again, guys can, look at this thing, man, and hold on to it, and sometimes think it's theirs. Think, they literally think they have a little bit of ownership, in the WWE or WCW, or just say, for instance, Impact or AEW. But I stress to the young guys that's getting into the business, like to there again, look at this thing like Hollywood, and WWE is like Warner Brothers or something like that, and when you coming in, you're auditioning for a role.
Yep.
And hopefully, you can, parlay your skills to the next level. And, one day you become that leading actor that, and that's the thing. And I'm just saying that because so many people can look at it like it's theirs. For me, I say, for those people that think that way, create your own reality of wrestling.
There you go. Then you can actually have ownership stake, right?
Then you can do it however you want to do it. But until you do something like that, try to get the best roles that you can get at that time.
Yeah, and I think Steve Austin, who we just had on the show last week, and to me, one of the biggest stars in the history of wrestling, I think it's safe to say. Before he wrestled his last match, he did this interview and for his documentary. He said, "Look, guys, it's pretty simple. I'm a part in a machine. Once I give out, once I rust out, they take that part out, they throw me into a pile of old parts, they put a new one in, and the machine keeps going." He said, "No one's special." He said, "Not one guy is special."
Wow.
And for him to say that, who's probably at the highest of highs this industry's ever seen, it kind of puts it all in perspective for you.
Nah, man, that's a really, really good way of putting it right there. I don't think I've ever heard it, put that simple and that plain to make you understand what this thing really is and truly is all about. So guys, take that word of advice right there and run with it. Hopefully Ryback won't be making any more comments like that. Or maybe him and Mark Henry will be at WrestleMania coming up. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.